Every year, the Oscars celebrate Hollywood's brightest stars, but behind the golden statues lies a darker story. Scandal, betrayal, tragedy and mystery have haunted the Academy Awards since the very beginning. These are the top 30 most shocking Oscar scandals and tragedies, moments that changed Hollywood forever. Let's begin. 30. Marlon Brando rejects Oscar, 1973, the only star who said no to Oscar glory. In 1973 Marlon Brando made Hollywood history, not for winning, but for refusing its highest honor. When Brando was announced as the Best Actor winner for The Godfather, he didn't show up. Instead, a young Apache activist named Sacheen Littlefeather walked onto the stage in his place. Dressed in traditional attire, she held up her hand and calmly announced that Brando would not accept the Oscar, a protest against Hollywood's portrayal and mistreatment of Native Americans. Her brief speech was met with boos, applause and stunned silence across the audience. That night, Brando became the only major star to turn down an Academy Award, trading Oscar glory for a moment of moral defiance that would echo for decades. Number 29, Hattie McDaniel's Segregated Oscar Night, 1940, won Oscar but couldn't sit with co-stars. In 1940, Hattie McDaniel broke barriers as the first black actor to win an Academy Award, for her unforgettable role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, but the night that should have celebrated progress instead revealed the harsh truth of segregation. The ceremony was held at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, a whites-only venue. McDaniel was only allowed to attend after the film's producer pulled strings to get her special permission. Even then, she was forced to sit at a small, segregated table in the back of the ballroom, far away from her white co-stars. When her name was called, she delivered a humble, emotional speech, thanking the Academy, even as it denied her equal dignity. She made history that night. But she also showed the painful contrast between success and segregation in old Hollywood. Number 28, Adrien Brody forces kiss on Halle Berry, 2003, the Oscar moment that would be cancelled today. The 2003 Oscars delivered one of the most shocking moments in modern Academy history. When Adrien Brody won Best Actor for The Pianist, he ran to the stage, and without warning, grabbed presenter Halle Berry and kissed her full on the lips. The audience roared with laughter and applause. But the moment quickly became controversial. Years later, Berry revealed that she hadn't expected it at all and felt deeply uncomfortable. What was once brushed off as spontaneous Oscar passion is now widely viewed as a moment of inappropriate behavior broadcast to millions, a reminder of how much the conversation around consent and respect in Hollywood has changed. Number 27, Vanessa Redgrave's PLO speech, 1978, the most politically explosive Oscar speech ever. In 1978, Vanessa Redgrave took the stage to accept her Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in Julia, but instead of a simple thank you, she launched into one of the most divisive speeches in Academy history. Redgrave, who had produced a documentary sympathetic to the Palestinian Liberation Organization, used her acceptance speech to denounce Zionist hoodlums who had protested her nomination outside the ceremony. The audience gasped, and moments later, screenwriter Paddy Chayefsky took the stage to publicly rebuke her remarks, turning the Oscars into a political battleground. It was a night of cheers, boos, and chaos, the most politically explosive Oscar speech ever delivered. Number 26, Michael Moore booed off stage, 2003, the only Oscar winner rejected by the crowd. The 2003 Academy Awards weren't just about glamour, they became a flashpoint for protest. When filmmaker Michael Moore won Best Documentary for Bowling for Columbine, he used his moment on stage to blast President George W. Bush and the then ongoing Iraq War, calling Bush a fictitious president. Moore was met with a mix of applause and an overwhelming wave of boos from the audience. The orchestra tried to play him off, but the jeers only grew louder. It became one of the rare times an Oscar winner was literally shouted off the stage, proof that even Hollywood can turn on its own when politics meet the spotlight. Number 25, Joan Crawford vs. Bette Davis, 1963, the ugliest Oscar rivalry in history. Behind the glitz of the Oscars lies one of Hollywood's most bitter rivalries. In 1963, screen legends Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, co-stars in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, turned their feud into Oscar night warfare. Davis was nominated for Best Actress and Crawford, who wasn't, secretly campaigned against her. When Anne Bancroft won but couldn't attend, Crawford swooped in to accept the award on her behalf, walking right past Davis and soaking up the spotlight. Davis was furious and their decades-long rivalry only grew darker from there. The feud that began on set ended up destroying both their reputations, forever remembered as the ugliest Oscar rivalry in history. Number 24, Sacheen Littlefeather's 50-year punishment, 1973 to 2022, Hollywood made her pay for 50 years. When Sacheen Littlefeather stepped onto the Oscar stage in 1973 to deliver Marlon Brando's message rejecting his award, she had no idea it would cost her a lifetime in exile. Dressed in traditional Apache clothing, she spoke calmly about Hollywood's mistreatment of Native Americans, and for that, she was booed, mocked, and blacklisted. Behind the scenes, she received death threats, casting calls vanished, and her career was effectively over. For nearly 50 years, she lived with that stigma while the industry that shunned her celebrated everyone else. Then, in 2022, the Academy finally issued a public apology for how she'd been treated. Just 2 weeks later, Sacheen Littlefeather passed away, her dignity finally restored but far too late. Number 23, Gwyneth Paltrow's bought Oscar, 1999. How Weinstein rigged the Oscars. In 1999, Gwyneth Paltrow won the Oscar for Best Actress for Shakespeare in Love, beating Cate Blanchett's powerhouse performance in Elizabeth, but behind the gold statue was one of the most aggressive Oscar campaigns Hollywood had ever seen. Led by producer Harvey Weinstein, Weinstein flooded the press, threw lavish parties, and spent millions courting Academy voters. His relentless tactics worked, but the backlash was immediate. Critics accused him of turning award season into a political machine, and Paltrow's win has since been called one of the least deserved in Oscar history. Today, that night stands as a symbol of how Weinstein's influence could literally buy Hollywood's highest honor. Number 22, Roberto Benigni's Wild Celebration, 1999, the most chaotic Oscar acceptance ever. When Italian actor Roberto Benigni won Best Actor for Life is Beautiful in 1999, the Oscars turned into a scene of joyful chaos. Overcome with excitement, Benigni leapt onto his chair, climbed over rows of audience seats, even trampling over Steven Spielberg. Before reaching the stage, he waved his arms, kissed everyone in sight, and shouted with pure, unfiltered glee. It was one of the most unpredictable and contagious moments in Oscar history, a total break from the night's usual formality. The crowd couldn't stop laughing and cheering as Benigni celebrated like a man who truly couldn't believe he'd just won it all. Number 21, John Wayne restrained backstage, 1973. When John Wayne tried to attack on Oscar night, the 1973 Oscars weren't just controversial, they were nearly violent. When Sacheen Littlefeather walked on stage to refuse Marlon Brando's Oscar and speak about Native American representation, legendary actor John Wayne was watching from backstage. Furious at her words, Wayne reportedly tried to storm the stage to physically remove her himself. It took 6 security guards to hold him back. As millions watched live, no one knew how close the ceremony had come to turning into a full-blown assault. The moment has since become a dark footnote in Oscar history, when one of Hollywood's biggest icons nearly attacked a woman for daring to speak truth to power. Number 20, Judy Garland drugged by MGM, 1939. Hollywood destroyed her before she turned 18. In the golden age of Hollywood, few stars shone brighter, or suffered more, than Judy Garland. At just 16, while filming The Wizard of Oz, MGM executives began feeding her amphetamines to keep her awake and barbiturates to help her sleep. They called her fat, forced her onto crash diets, and controlled every bite of food she ate, even though she was already dangerously underweight. Behind her radiant smile, she was a teenager trapped in a studio system that treated her like property. Though she became one of cinema's most beloved icons, Judy Garland never won a competitive Oscar. By the time she reached adulthood, Hollywood had already taken her childhood, and her peace, away. Number 19, Grace Kelly trapped in Palace, 1955, the Oscar winner imprisoned by royalty. Grace Kelly seemed to have everything: beauty, talent, and an Oscar for her performance in The Country Girl, but just 1 year after her win, she gave it all up for a fairy tale marriage to Prince Rainier of Monaco. What looked like a royal dream quickly turned into a gilded cage. Once she became Princess Grace, Rainier banned her from acting, ending her career forever. Hollywood's brightest rising star was silenced behind palace walls. Decades later, at just 52, she died in a mysterious car crash on a winding Monaco road, a tragic ending to a life that seemed enchanted, but was marked by isolation and control. Number 18, Elizabeth Taylor's serial homewrecking, 1961, Hollywood's most shameless husband stealer. Elizabeth Taylor's beauty made her a legend, but her love life made her infamous. In 1961, she won the Oscar for Best Actress for Butterfield 8, the very role she once called trash off-screen. She had scandalized Hollywood by stealing singer Eddie Fisher away from her best friend, actress Debbie Reynolds. But Taylor's most explosive affair came soon after, when she began a passionate relationship with her Cleopatra co-star Richard Burton. who was married at the time. Their love affair became front-page news worldwide, fueling gossip, outrage and fascination in equal measure. Taylor would marry 8 times, but her reputation as Hollywood's ultimate homewrecker would outlive them all. Number 17, Bing Crosby's Secret Violence, 1944. America's favorite dad was a monster. In the 1940s, Bing Crosby was the voice of Christmas, the smiling crooner who won an Oscar for Going My Way and embodied America's wholesome charm. But behind the microphone and movie screen was a very different man. Years later, his sons revealed a dark truth. That Crosby had ruled their childhood with brutal violence. He beat them with metal-studded belts, shamed them constantly and demanded perfection through fear. One son later said, "We feared him more than we loved him." The revelation shattered the image of Hollywood's most beloved family man, proving that even the warmest voices can hide the coldest hearts. Number 16, Joan Crawford's Mommy Dearest Abuse, 1946. The Oscar winner who terrorized her children, Joan Crawford's 1946 Oscar win for Mildred Pierce marked her triumphant comeback, but years later, her daughter would expose the horror behind that glamorous facade. In her shocking memoir Mommy Dearest, Christina Crawford accused her mother of decades of physical and psychological abuse, describing brutal beatings, humiliation, and obsessive control. The stories became Hollywood legend, from wire hanger beatings to forced perfection. When Crawford died, she disinherited 2 of her children entirely, writing that it was for reasons well known to them. The world remembered her as a star, but her children remembered her as a monster. Number 15, Roman Polanski's Fugitive Standing Ovation, 2003. The Academy applauded a convicted child rapist. In 2003, the pianist earned director Roman Polanski an Oscar for Best Director, but Polanski wasn't there to accept it. He had fled the United States in 1977 after pleading guilty to the rape of a 13-year-old girl, escaping sentencing and living abroad as a fugitive. Yet when his name was announced, the Hollywood elite rose to their feet, giving him a standing ovation. Cameras panned across smiling stars applauding a man who couldn't legally set foot in the country. It remains one of the darkest and most disturbing moments in Oscar history, the night the Academy celebrated a fugitive who had committed an unforgivable crime. Number 14, Kevin Spacey erased from history, 2000s. From double Oscar winner to deleted from existence. For years, Kevin Spacey was one of Hollywood's most respected actors, a 2-time Oscar winner for The Usual Suspects and American Beauty. But in 2017, over 30 men came forward accusing him of sexual assault and predatory behavior dating back decades. The fallout was immediate and total. Studios dropped him, Netflix cut ties, and even completed films were digitally re-edited to erase him from their final cuts. Overnight, one of the industry's most decorated stars became untouchable, not just cancelled, but almost completely erased from Hollywood history. His name, once synonymous with prestige, became a symbol of how fast power collapses when the truth comes out. Number 13, Harvey Weinstein's Oscar Empire, 1999 to 2017. The monster who controlled the Academy. For nearly 2 decades, Harvey Weinstein ruled the Oscars like a king. Through his studio Miramax, he produced a string of Best Picture winners, Shakespeare in Love, The English Patient, Chicago, and more. His aggressive Oscar campaigns became legendary, turning Hollywood's awards season into a political battlefield. He almost always won, but behind the scenes, Weinstein was a predator. Over 80 women later accused him of sexual assault, harassment, and rape, crimes he used his Hollywood power to hide. In 2020, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. The man who once controlled the Academy from the shadows was finally exposed as one of the industry's most monstrous abusers. Number 12, Woody Allen's Daughter Accusations, 1992-present. The Oscar winner accused by his own daughter, Woody Allen built his reputation as one of cinema's great auteurs, winning multiple Oscars for films like Annie Hall and Hannah and Her Sisters, but his personal life cast a long, disturbing shadow over his career. In 1992, his adopted daughter Dylan Farrow accused him of sexually abusing her when she was 7 years old, accusations Allen has always denied. Around the same time, he began a romantic relationship with Soon-Yi Previn, the adopted daughter of his former partner, Mia Farrow, and later married her. Despite decades of controversy and protest, the Academy continued to honor Allen and his films for years. His legacy remains one of the most deeply divisive in Hollywood history, genius to some, unforgivable to others. Number 11, Will Smith's Assault on Live TV, 2022. The Oscar winner who committed assault on live TV. The 2022 Oscars were supposed to be Will Smith's crowning moment, but instead, they became one of the most infamous nights in television history. Then comedian Chris Rock made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, Will stormed the stage and slapped him across the face, live on air. In front of millions? Minutes later, Smith returned to the stage, tears streaming, to accept the Oscar for Best Actor for King Richard. Despite his outburst, he refused to leave the ceremony. Days later, the Academy banned him from all Oscar events for 10 years. It was the night Hollywood's most beloved star crossed a line the world would never forget. The slap heard around the world. Number 10, Lana Turner's Daughter Kills Mobster, 1958, the Oscar nominee whose daughter committed murder. In 1958, Hollywood was shaken by a scandal straight out of a crime film. Lana Turner, an Oscar-nominated star for Peyton Place, had been trapped in an abusive relationship with mobster Johnny Stompanato. One night, after a violent argument at home, Turner's 14-year-old daughter Cheryl burst into the room with a kitchen knife, stabbing Stompanato to death as he attacked her mother. The killing was ruled justifiable homicide, but the headlines were brutal. Turner's image as the glamorous leading lady was shattered overnight, replaced by the portrait of a mother at the center of Hollywood's most shocking real-life tragedy. Number 9, Frances Farmer's Forced Lobotomy, 1940s, Hollywood's most horrifying cover-up. Frances Farmer was one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars in the 1930s, talented, beautiful, and rebellious, but when she refused to conform to studio demands, her career began to unravel. Her own mother eventually had her committed to a psychiatric hospital, where Farmer was allegedly subjected to brutal treatments, including shock therapy, and according to later reports, a lobotomy. She spent years locked away, her mind and spirit broken. Though the details remain disputed, her story became a symbol of how Hollywood and its power structures could destroy a woman who refused to obey. Once considered Oscar-caliber talent, Frances Farmer became the tragic face of Hollywood's darkest secrets. Number 8, Fatty Arbuckle's Murder Trial, 1921, the scandal that created Hollywood censorship. In 1921, silent film comedian Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was one of the most famous entertainers in the world, until a party in San Francisco ended in the death of actress Virginia Rappe. Arbuckle was accused of raping and killing her, and the sensational trial became the first major Hollywood scandal. Though he was acquitted after 3 trials, with the jury issuing a written apology, saying, "A great injustice has been done," his career was over. The scandal destroyed his reputation and led to a nationwide moral panic about Hollywood's influence. It was the event that forced studios to create strict moral guidelines, and it marked the birth of Hollywood censorship. Number 7, Natalie Wood's Mysterious Drowning, 1981, the Oscar nominee murdered on her husband's boat. Natalie Wood was a 3-time Oscar nominee and one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, but her life ended in one of its greatest mysteries. In 1981, she drowned off the coast of Catalina Island after spending the night on a yacht with her husband, actor Robert Wagner, and co-star Christopher Walken. The official story claimed it was an accident, but rumors of a violent argument and unexplained bruises told another tale. Decades later, in 2011, the case was reopened and Wagner was named a person of interest. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened that night, but Hollywood has never stopped asking who or what really killed Natalie Wood. Number 6, Jean Harlow's Husband's Suicide, 1932, did Hollywood's blonde bombshell get away with murder? In 1932, MGM's dazzling star Jean Harlow seemed to have it all: beauty, fame, and a new marriage to studio executive Paul Bern. But just 2 months later, Bern was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head in their Beverly Hills home. The official story called it suicide, but rumors quickly spread that Harlow knew more than she let on. Studio executives rushed to the scene, cleaned up evidence, and released statements to protect their biggest moneymaker. Whispers of murder, jealousy, and cover-ups haunted Harlow's career for years. Though no charges were ever filed, the mystery of Paul Bern's death remains one of Hollywood's earliest and most scandalous tragedies. Number 5, Thelma Todd's Unsolved Death, 1935, the actress who may have crossed the wrong people. In 1935, comedian and film star Thelma Todd was found dead in her car inside a garage on the Pacific Coast Highway. The official cause was carbon monoxide poisoning, but investigators and tabloids quickly pointed to foul play. Todd owned a popular Hollywood restaurant that had rumored mob connections, and witnesses claimed she'd received threats shortly before her death. No one was ever charged, and the truth behind her final night remains one of classic Hollywood's most haunting mysteries. Number 4, Bob Crane's Brutal Murder, 1978, the TV star with a secret life and a deadly end. Bob Crane, best known as the charming lead of Hogan's Heroes, was found bludgeoned to death in his Arizona apartment in 1978. His skull had been crushed, apparently with a camera tripod. As detectives searched for answers, they uncovered Crane's hidden obsession with filming his sexual encounters. hundreds of tapes and photographs. His friend and video partner, John Carpenter, was tried for the murder but acquitted for lack of evidence. To this day, the crime remains unsolved and Crane's double life still fascinates and disturbs Hollywood historians. Number 3, Dorothy Straton's murder by husband, 1980. The rising star destroyed by jealousy. Dorothy Straton was just 20 years old, a rising actress, model and girlfriend of director Peter Bogdanovich, when her estranged husband, Paul Snider, murdered her in Los Angeles. Police later found that Snider had taken his own life beside her body. The tragedy shocked Hollywood, ending the life of a young woman whose career had barely begun. Straton's story inspired films, books, and ongoing conversations about the dangers of fame, exploitation, and possessive control. Number 2, The Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short, 1947, Hollywood's most infamous unsolved murder. In January 1947, the body of 22-year-old aspiring actress Elizabeth Short was discovered in a vacant Los Angeles lot, severed in two and drained of blood. The brutality of the crime horrified the nation. Newspapers dubbed her the Black Dahlia, and police were overwhelmed by more than 60 false confessions. The case has never been solved, and over the decades countless theories have linked it, without proof, to powerful Hollywood insiders. More than 75 years later, the murder remains one of America's greatest mysteries. Number 1, Marilyn Monroe's mysterious death, 1962, Hollywood's brightest star who died under suspicious circumstances. On August 5, 1962, the world lost Marilyn Monroe, the legendary actress and global icon, found dead at age 36 in her Los Angeles home. The coroner ruled her death a probable suicide by overdose. But lingering inconsistencies in the evidence have fueled decades of speculation. Her relationships with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert, the missing phone records and conflicting witness statements all deepen the mystery. Official files remain partly classified, leaving fans and historians still debating whether her death was simply a tragedy, or something far more complicated. Was it an accident, a cover-up, or something darker? 60 years later, the world still doesn't have an answer. From power to tragedy, from glory to scandal, the Oscars have seen it all. Behind every golden statue lies a story Hollywood would rather forget. Which moment shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe and join us next time for more untold stories from the dark side of Hollywood.